Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 222. I'm your host, Sean Garmer. Here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And we got the full crew here, as well as Mr. Jens Dietrich is here.
Hello.
And also Randy Isbelle.
Hello.
Well, we finally have all been able to, well, except Marc, who's still waiting for his physical copy.
Speak for yourself.
So the three of us out of the four have been able to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, so we will be talking about that. Randy is the farthest, so where are you at now, Randy?
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12 still.
Mm-hmm. I didn't get to play it today.
Jens, where are you at?
Chapter 4.
That's where I'm at, Chapter 4.
Slackers. It's like you guys have a life or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, there's that. We're going to talk about Jens has played a bit more Nioh 2. Marc's played some more Persona 5 Royal, so we'll talk about those. There is some news bites as well to discuss in the show, beginning with it seems like somehow we always have to talk about this. Obviously, it's something that's going on, and also Jens thankfully escaped the damage in the tornadoes that happened.
Yep,
Go ahead.
I've got some friends like an hour and a half out of the city, like it's down south, like in Griffin. I sent you that picture of the house just sitting in the middle of the street. So yeah, that they got tornadoed pretty hard apparently. So, but yeah, North Atlanta, we did not get it. We just got heavy rain.
It's a good game.
Yep, exactly. I put everything in video game terms. So it was fine. I was just sitting at home playing Final Fantasy while all this was going on. But yeah, I know some folks who were not as lucky. But
yeah, certainly, I'm sure a lot of people saw the stuff on the news by now. The things I saw looked pretty awful. And also awful is this COVID-19 that continues to proliferate our lives every day, and it has taken a video game, a voice actor who's known for some video game roles, Rick May, who passed at 79. He's most well known for Team Fortress 2's Soldier, and of course to many Star Fox fans as Peppy Hare for Star Fox 64. Did he voice Peppy in the most recent one?
No, it was just Star Fox 64.
Okay.
Peppy and Andros.
Yeah, Peppy and Andros. So he's doing a bear roll in heaven right now.
In his grave.
So
Godspeed.
Godspeed to that man.
Yeah, he was a good voice actor. Those voices sound very different from one another. He wasn't as active anymore, probably because of age, but I think they still called him up to do the Soldier every once in a while for the Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, he also did Genghis Khan in Age of Empires 2. People played that. But, it doesn't make any life more important than the other ones. It gets lost in all of this craziness. But, yeah, just once again, be careful, folks, with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But, also happening Nintendo, speaking of this, because, everybody's, we're all trying to stay it's weird to say this, that, we have to have something happen in order for everybody to realize that you need to be clean. So, in the efforts of people trying to be more clean, I know I did this the other day. I did it a couple of days ago. We still happen to have some alcohol wipes before they were torn away from the earth, where you can't find them anymore. And I alcohol wiped my Switch, and apparently Nintendo is saying don't alcohol wipe your Switch because you're going to mess with the finish on it. So, if you're worried about the finish of your Nintendo Switch and don't want it to wear out, maybe don't use alcohol. Yeah.
What's the actual color of the Switch now that you've wiped the finish off? What's underneath it?
It's still the colors.
Okay,
I only did it one time, so I haven't done it enough to where it would really make a difference.
It was like when I was using Drano in my house, and the plumber came and was like, do not use any kind of, pipe cleaners like this, because it's just the old plumbing can't take it, you're gonna ruin it.
Yeah, I bet they ship my house too. Fortunately, I rent, so I don't care.
So why do they make it then if it ruins the...
Well,
it's like for newer...
Yeah, new pipes it's fine, because they can take it, but not old stuff.
Ah, okay. It's like that engine cleaner stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
for your car.
My sewer pipe is made out of clay. I should tell you how old it is.
Jesus.
I'm trying to remember. I know I've ruined the finish on some video game thing in the past, but I can't remember what it was. I definitely have not used alcohol cleaners on any kind of electronics since. Maybe it was a PSP? Trying to think of... Yeah, don't do that.
I mean, you should keep your things clean, right? But maybe use just
but I mean...
water and...
There's specific...
I mean, if you have, like,
cleaners
Randy,
like
who has kids, if your kid needs to use the Switch and he went somewhere, then obviously, you need to, clean it, right?
Yeah, when my son needs to play the Switch, he washes his hands more than he does when he goes outside for this COVID stuff, so...
Really?
There's a process. No, not at all. But, I mean, when he was younger, I made sure once he wanted to play, like, the 3DS and stuff, I waited till I upgraded to the Zelda 3DS XL and just gave him the other one, because I knew he would, like, half the buttons stick now. I'm like, you have your own, don't mess with mine.
Well, just use some Endust or something. There's plenty of electronics cleaners that are made specifically for doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have some for my TV and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also Nintendo made waves, because there are people that have always been upset about this since the Switch came out, that the Pro Controller is the only one of the big three that your B and A are totally different compared to, the X and the A of Xbox and PlayStation. So in update 10.0 of the Switch, you are now finally allowed to control map your entire console, and you can save up to 5 different versions of this controller mapping. So now you can switch your B and A and make it all right with the world now, I guess. So, I mean, it did take me a while to get used to when I first was playing my Switch.
Like they're not gonna update Fire Emblem so that Fire Emblem tells you to press B instead of A now, just because you've remapped your buttons. So
yeah.
I mean,
you just have to remember, I guess. It just has to be muscle memory. Which, at this point, I've spent long enough with it where I've just kind of gotten used to those buttons being in different places.
Yeah, but it's still kind of still annoying. Like,
it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend it doesn't suck, but at this point, it sucks just as much to, like, rethink it, for me anyway. I know a lot of people will be happy about this. I won't be doing it.
Right.
Randy, does it ever bother you when you're switching between all three consoles? Or
No, I'm so old that the Nintendo one's still ingrained in my head from the Super Nintendo days.
Well, plus Randy has all the consoles there in front of him. He can just memorize all those buttons.
It just gives me more an excuse when I screw up. It's just, I was hitting the wrong button. But no, it doesn't really bother me.
Well, it's there. And it's something that may bother folks. You still cannot, even though they have added, you can now transfer game data from your SD card to your system, which you couldn't do before. And other DLC data, you still cannot transfer save data from the SD card to your system. So there's cloud saves, but as we know full well with Animal Crossing, those cloud saves don't work for every game. So,
well, I think they probably figure once you can get the save data off, you can put it on a PC into a hex editor.
Yeah. And
start messing with it.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to avoid.
But, or like to give yourself like infinite, or all the characters in Animal Crossing, or infinite bells, or something like that.
I mean, yeah, that's what you can do it for.
And now that you have played the game, Marc, do you understand the whole why Nintendo would do this, or you still think it's dumb?
It's dumb.
Oh.
Because
but Mark likes to break every game.
Yeah, who does it hurt? Like, I mean, you can invite people to your island, but it's, I mean, kind of. It was funny because I saw like amiibo cards and now selling crazy prices for like all the Animal Crossing ones, and it's like, well, I have this little amiibo emulator thing that works pretty well. So
Mark,
I guess I don't need those.
It hurts you, Mark. You cheated not only the game but yourself. You didn't grow. You didn't improve.
I played the
took
game
a
more than you
shortcut
did.
and gained nothing. You experienced a hollow victory.
I played the game more than you did.
What, Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
Well, who got... Whatever.
Well, y'all have both given up on Animal Crossing now?
Yeah.
Nothing was risked and nothing was gained, Mark.
Damn, I'm guessing that review's coming in like 2021 then, by the time.
No, I can knock out the review pretty quick, actually.
I hated this game at the end.
No, it's like I initially liked this game, and the more I played, then I hated it.
Hey, just because you stuck with it longer than me, I think we both kind of came out of it the same way.
Yeah.
And finally, on my end, I have no idea what Mark was talking about with the Crisis stuff. The ESRB now has game information that used to or still does. When you go into the back of a box for a game that has like purchasable things in it, it'll say that on your game information. Now, if it has loot boxes, any game that has loot boxes or any kind of game that you can purchase something randomly, it will now include the subtitles of may contain random items to, I guess, help parents when they buy games. Do you think this really helps at all?
No, because most parents don't read that ESRB stuff.
Just figured I would ask. I don't think it does either, but I mean, it's nice. There are a lot of people that... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Crisis stuff was just because that stupid Crisis account tweeted in like 4 years.
What was the tweet? Data incoming?
Yeah. It's like, wow, why to be vague?
Well, I mean, it's like Platinum with that 4 that is put up there, and then...
Yeah. But Platinum is in a position to make more games. Crytek isn't. And also, Platinum occasionally makes a good game.
I say Rise 2 or get the fuck out. I don't care about Christ.
I don't think... Are we... Wouldn't they have made a Rise 2 by now if it was that
They would have. Yeah, I don't think it's happening. So what do we think? Is this a remake of Crisis, or new remaster of Crisis, or is this Crisis 4? Or is this nothing? Is this just is this some social media community manager who is just like, let's get excitement out here for some nonsense?
I think it's nothing, or else someone else hacked the Crisis that Twitter account and is just screwing with people. Which I would be all for.
Yeah. Sure.
But, I mean, we were talking off the air, but, I mean, Crisis 1 is kind of a revolutionary game at the time, and I like Crisis 2, but Crisis 3 was not a good game. So...
Yeah. I did not even know Crisis 3 existed. So, there's that. I don't know.
That tells you how popular Crisis 3 was.
2 was fine, I guess, but it was, confined areas. Confined little arena, stealth combat puzzle areas.
Well, it was a lot more conventional, for good and for bad. I mean, it wasn't as open-ended, but also, like, you had direction of what you're supposed to do next.
I love just being thrown into a big open world with a bunch of tools and figuring it out for myself in Crisis. I thought the first Crisis was fantastic.
I mean, I would say people who say Far Cry 2 is the best one.
Far Cry 2, to me, has more issues that are deterrents than Crisis does. Crisis doesn't get bad until the third act when the aliens show up, and it just turns into more of a conventional thing too. Then it becomes corridors, which they like. It's weird. It's like they forgot what made the game good partway through it, and then they continued that into the sequels.
It's like Dead Island.
That's not a bad comparison.
There was news about that they're trying they might be developing for the PS5 now. I think I showed that to you, Sean. You're having a chuckle about that.
Yeah.
I guess my point is that I'd be more excited about a Crisis remake or a Return to Roots game than anything that's like Crisis 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Finally, there's been some new Ghost of Tsushima info because the official PlayStation Magazine UK has a new preview. And...
What?
It's like Skype's being a turd today because we lost Marc for a little bit.
Oh,
So
that's fine.
So we know Ghost of Tsushima is not going to have like a HUD system. You're going to have to use like landmarks to be able to know your way around. You're not going to. It's not going to have waypoints where it just kind of tells you, "Oh, here's your next mission. Here's where you're going."
Just
Randy,
like Control.
Yeah, and just like a game that Randy enjoys a lot, The Infamous. Being another Sucker Punch game. How do you feel about not having a way? Having played Final Fantasy VII, which does have the waypoints, and now you're going to play this Ghost of Tsushima, which won't. Do you like this idea of not having waypoints?
It depends on how detailed the world is. Like Infamous was fine because everything was kind of broken down and you could tell kind of where you were just from like what buildings and stuff, especially like the new Infamous or the latest Infamous. I mean, you had I'm from the Northwest, so all the Seattle landmarks and stuff. I kind of can remember where things were. And I remember they had a map at least. Like Marc had brought up Control real quick. It took me a while to get used to Control's map because it just was really confusing as far as what connected to where and where the doors were supposed to be and stuff. You get used to it, and I think that's what will happen here. It might be a little bit of a system shock for a little bit as far as like trying to figure out where you're going to go. But I mean, the game looks beautiful, so you'd think like you'd be able to make out landmarks, whether it's mountains or whatever, that you can still kind of figure out where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the Infamous games, but I don't remember ever having trouble navigating the world. So I feel fairly confident that Sucker Punch will figure out how to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the last one was pretty good, the PS4 one.
Mm-hmm.
Did not care for it, but yeah, there was no issue with the map to me or knowing where to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think it just depends, right? If everything's easy to find, then cool. If I'm going to spend hours getting lost, then I might be a little upset because I don't really have time to be getting lost that much.
As a fan of Minecraft, it'll happen to me all the time. I'll start a new world and be messing around, and I'm like, I'm going to explore. And then 20 minutes later, I was like, well, I guess I'm building a new house because I have no idea where that was. So it could be like that, too.
The counter is something like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, where it's like a 5-hour campaign with a big follow arrow on top of this guy's head for all of it. It's like, this is not fun at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also is the idea that not only are you going to have samurai skills, you're going to have ninja skills. And depending on what kind of skills you use the most, it may affect some relationships with some characters in the game as well. So
that's cool.
How you fight.
That's just a mix on what their Infamous thing was, the good and bad meter. I mean, hopefully it has a little bit more depth to it than you get good points, you get bad points.
You think you'll be able to throw electric grenades in this one?
Well, you could throw the smoke bombs or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
electric nunchucks.
Yeah. There's an example with Makoto, which I guess perhaps is a little bit more on what you were saying, Randy, is that if you do too much of something she doesn't like, she might just turn on you completely and be your enemy. So I guess there's things you have to think about while you're also going through that game and what you decide to do. And something I'm sure Jens will... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, I like that, though, because there's a lot of games where they like, Life is Strange comes to mind, where your best friend, I absolutely hated in the game, and I kept just throwing her under the bus, and it kept like just bringing me right back, and you still had to finish the game with her. It would be great to have the ability of just, you piss her off enough, and then she hates you, and she goes away. I'm into that.
It's like Dragon Age.
I'm down.
Yeah. You can like take off like more, I think her name is Morgana. And yeah.
We have the sorceress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can abandon you.
Or she'll actually lead the party? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, she'll just be like, I'm out. Yeah.
If you make too many contrary decisions, for sure.
Yeah.
You don't want that, though. You want Morgana if you want the good ending to the game. She's pretty useful. And the bad ending. You kind of need her for both of them.
Everyone likes having Claudia Black around.
Mm-hmm.
And something I'm sure Jens will appreciate is that the soundtrack has music from Shigeru Umbayashi, who's worked on House of Flying Daggers and Grandmaster.
Yep,
So-
major composer. I mean, his filmography is pretty insane. Curse of the Golden Flower is a good one. The Bride, lots of great stuff. So yeah, they got a major In the Mood for Love. Also he scored the Tekken movie in 1990. So you've got award movies and you've got your lowbrow stuff. It's quite a filmography. This guy.
Sony getting the good stuff for a game that's still slated to hit on June 26th. We'll see if it doesn't get delayed as well. Hopefully not.
I got my digital deluxe edition pre-ordered, so I'm hoping that it'll just kind of unlock.
Yeah.
On the day.
Let's hope. Let's hope that they don't have to delay that indefinitely as well. But one game that we know is not getting delayed at all because it's already out and people are playing it and people are either absolutely loving it or, I don't know, there's folks that are just apparently can't stand one reason, can't stand it for one reason or another. But, let's kind of, I guess, do this in some sections without trying to spoil things because obviously Marc hasn't, played the game yet and, people are still...
I played Final Fantasy 20 years ago. I'm fine.
Yeah, but there's new stuff to spoil immediately.
That maybe haven't gotten to play it yet, or are waiting on a physical copy like you, or or they played it and they're experiencing the game right along with us, and so, I mean, Randy could spoil more things for us than, but
there's stuff that's notably different right away. Like Cloud has visions. There's these weird kind of Dementor type creatures that you start seeing.
Oh, the snowboarding.
I know I haven't gotten snowboarding yet. I don't think that'll be in this first one.
Yeah, I can confirm. I lied. I said chapter 12. I'm on chapter 14. I can confirm there's still no snowboarding. So sorry, Marc.
Okay.
This game is now worthless. I'm selling my copy. Who wants it?
So, yeah, I mean, that was obviously, it's been talked about, and that's been shown in the trailer, so that's not really necessarily a spoiler. The Dementors. That actually has a story reason that I don't want to spoil as to why they exist.
You spoiled yourself on the finale?
No, I just read about why they exist, like why they're there. Because I wanted to know, like, why the heck did Nomura just decide to put in some random fucking ghosts into this game? So
it's secretly Kingdom Hearts 4. They're the Heartless.
The only people who I've seen say a negative thing about this game is people who don't like the ending. I don't know who. I don't know what you've been reading, Sean. It sounds like you've read some more negative opinions. Everybody I know absolutely loves it, and rightfully so.
There's people that don't like the side quests. They think the side quests are a waste of time. And
I mean, to be fair, it is a game where one of the first quests is killing some rats for a shopkeeper. Yeah. So it's an RPG, all right. Find some cats.
And then you have to find cats, I was going to say.
Yeah.
But I love that even, like, Cloud is just the most like, he's just so, like, this is stupid. This sucks. Why am I doing this? Like, the whole time. So, he's the audience.
But he's also, like, very innocent as well. Like, he doesn't, seem to really kind of grasp when he's getting hit on by Jessie, who's... That's just her attitude in this game.
Wait, you don't think he grasps it? I mean, he like flat out turns her down over and over again.
Well, no, he does, but like at first it's kind of like he doesn't really get it, and then he does eventually, and then like when Tifa's kind of asking him certain questions, he kind of tries to not, He's
a volcel, a voluntary celibate.
Yeah.
When he tells Jessie, are you really that desperate? It's like, oh man, Cloud has serious self-esteem issues in this game.
Yeah.
He's like your typical harem anime protagonist in those scenes.
Yeah,
and that's we've got. I mean, this is a Jessie that fucks, and Cloud has none of it.
Yeah. I mean, she does not hide it at all. It's like from the very first. I mean, if you played the demo, you got that already. But like, yeah, they definitely gave her a character, and right where we are, Jens and I and Randy's already been through this. Is you get to learn a lot more about her. So I think I just really appreciate that. That's something that I really appreciated. Like they were nothing characters in the original game.
Oh yeah,
and then now they feel like they have life You know, like they all have personalities, and yeah, you know, Wedge's is kind of like a token personality of, oh, he's chubby and he likes to eat or whatever, but it's still funny, and he's just like
an earnest, fun-loving guy with a lot of heart. Exactly. I like Wedge.
And you know,
I've seen some people shipping Cloud and Wedge, which I think is a good ship.
Tifa is just something. I'll tell you. Yeah, that's what I think I appreciate the most is like the just depth you feel with these characters. Like, man,
they're so lovable. I mean, everybody is so much more of a character. I love Barrett's lectures.
Yeah,
you know, Tifa and Jessie are both great. Cloud is way more likable. Like, he's still, you know, kind of a gruff jerk at times, and he like immediately antagonizes everybody in the town when you first start doing quests. Right. But he does it in a way that you can kind of relate to, where, you know, he's not just... He was way more abrasive, if I remember original Final Fantasy VII, at least in the beginning. And you don't really understand why. Whereas here, it's like, okay, he's kind of awkward and uncomfortable and, you know, doesn't want to deal with the stuff.
He's been through some shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you see those moments that you don't really get to find that out until much later, right? The stuff that happens in...
Yeah, which we won't talk about.
Yeah, so, you know, you immediately already... As soon as you get out of that first volume mission, you're like, oh, dude, this guy has to deal with so much crap. You know, and things that he doesn't remember that all of a sudden he gets, like, flashbacks to and all this stuff. So, like, you identify with him more, which is another thing that I appreciate. Like, you know, people are going to complain about where you see a certain, you know, villain early or whatever, but I think it adds things that you kind of understand things a bit more by...
Yeah, having him be more immediately tortured means that he's also more immediately sympathetic. Like, you understand that he's, as you say, he's dealing with a lot of shit.
Yeah, I can't say that this is coming from my own head. I've heard several people in reviews say basically this, but they've done such a good job of taking what was in our heads in 97 with the bullet points that they were able to make in the game and how we kind of filled in the picture in our own heads, and they just threw that out in its own game. Like, everything that we thought was in Final Fantasy VII, and it's just there. I mean, the characters are so vibrant and amazing. Like Jens was saying, it's more of like a self-defense mechanism for Cloud when he's all gruff and stuff like that. It's like you said, he's so socially awkward and doesn't know what to do with the flirting and stuff, so he just kind of goes back with it. No, I'm going to be a loner. I have to be a loner. So it's more of a defense mechanism for him. Just all the characters are so fantastic. Even the ones like of course, Biggs, Wedge, and Jessie get much bigger roles. There's more later on in the game that only were getting small parts that just have been ballooned out to just be it's so fantastic to just watch the story unfold. And like, I know Marc said I played Final Fantasy VII before, but anybody that's played the original Final Fantasy VII and hasn't played this yet, it's like, oh, I know what happens in Midgar. You know the bullet points. Like, they've expanded it so much, and they've changed bits and pieces here too, just to keep you on your toes. But it's mostly just the original is bullet points, and it's amazing what they've done with it.
How's the stupid train graveyard scene?
Yeah.
Different.
Is it playable? Is it good?
Yeah.
I didn't like it in the first. I didn't like it in the first one at all.
No, I just got through that section yesterday, and they add a different twist to it that makes it more interesting than what it was.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, Randy, you're right on. It's definitely modernization, but they've done such a beautiful job of just remaining authentic and retaining everything that made the original so iconic and memorable, while also giving us something that feels fresh.
And there's still those little choices with Tifa as well and Aerith that I think they don't really matter as much. I don't know. I don't want to speak to
as far as I know, for trophy hunters, they matter a lot.
Oh, okay. But for like it doesn't change the story or what?
Randy, did I make the right decision telling Tifa to get the exotic outfit?
That one doesn't matter as long as you make it different every time.
Okay.
There's a trophy in the game where you, like, for anyone who's played it, there's a part where Cloud has to dress in drag and try to impress this creepy dude. There's a trophy in there where each 3 characters that are involved in that can have 3 different dresses.
Yeah.
And there's something you have to do differently in the game, which changes what dress they wear.
Right.
But I'm sure later on, some of these choices that you would have with Tifa and Aerith would be like the date scene in the original game that happens much later in the game. I would think something like that is down the line, because there's a couple times where it's a clear who you talk to first is going to affect something down the line. You can just tell that they built it this way. There's a point that I've gotten to where something happens, you've all fallen down, and Cloud gets up, and Aerith and Tifa are laying in front of you, and you have to go wake
that was
one
in the
of them
original
up.
too. Yeah,
It's like, okay, so obviously they're keeping that in. I haven't gotten to a point where it has really affected anything. I don't know if it does in the last few chapters, but I would think it would be a later on down the road kind of
Well,
a
that's
thing.
where the date is actually when they get to the Golden Saucer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, it's in the next game. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting how they make that. Will they make your choices? Will they do Telltale
Mass Effect
thing?
or Telltale game, yeah.
Where your choices will cross over to the next game, or with your save being there.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I know characters cap at 50 in this one, so do they get lowered down by the next game, or are you just starting at 50 if you got there? It's going to be really interesting to what they do.
Well, if you're using your save
file
and everything just comes over from there, I'm guessing, they would have to go base it on the majority of people's levels when they get to the end of the game, and then just base it off of that. I guess.
Or there may not be a level cap for the next game.
Yeah.
Or it could just be like 100. I mean, like the original game.
Yeah.
That's 99. So.
Yeah.
I will
imagine
Go ahead.
This is what makes me think that they were able to blow up this part of the game, because the other parts of the game are not as easy to blow up because it's already open world.
Yeah. This is it's a very linear feeling.
That's why I said they're going to make 30 episodes of this thing. Each episode's going to be a town, or here's the Cosmo Canyon part. That's part 14.
No, I think they would still stick to 3. I'm still going to go with that idea that they're still going to try to make it stick to 3. Because once you get into the open world part, traversing into the other places is not... how much are you really going to add to those stories? Because you didn't really spend that much time in those places other than these parts you had to do for the story. So,
you don't want to see all of Junon.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I think they would probably add more stuff with Yuffie and maybe more stuff with Vincent or something to make them more integral and not necessarily these optional characters. But, yeah, I don't know.
I think they'll have a Star Citizen part when you get SIDS. You can blast around in space for a while, like No Man's Sky.
Let's just make extra things.
Yeah.
But getting back to this game, so how do you guys like the battle system?
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, Mark, I think that you in particular, since you love Final Fantasy 15 so much, are going to dig this. I've been thinking about this because it feels just like a distillation of everything that worked in 15 while doing away with everything that didn't work.
What didn't work in 15?
Okay, like the healing system, and you don't have to get distance to rebuild your MP or whatever. And
instead now you just have to keep waiting on the enemy to build
the stupid teleporting, like all that all the kind of more MMO type mechanics, and just generally battles took way too long. Everything had huge health bars. So now it's just, you press square to attack, you hold square to attack continuously, circle to dodge, triangle to switch attack modes, and you've got RB to block, right? So kind of basic combat system. You've got a short window of opportunity to do a parry counterattack while you're switching between the two modes, Operator and Punisher. You've got regular or heavy attacks you can do. And as you do these attacks, you build up your action points to use the skills and spells, which you then pick from a menu. And that stuff is kind of is where the old-fashioned Final Fantasy VII stuff comes in, with the old skills and abilities. And,
I'm going to assume you're all 3 playing primarily as Cloud then?
Well, you have to switch. You have to switch.
Yeah, Cloud is the primary.
Cloud,
You can switch to Tifa or Barret every now and then, but
only in battle. You can't decide.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. I mean, it's like Final Fantasy 15.
So it starts as Cloud, and then you can switch. But you have to switch because you stay on one character too long, especially in the boss battles, you're gonna get whooped. So you know.
Well, I mean, I tend to do a lot of commands. So, like, while you're in the slow-mo, like, you don't completely pause the game. It just goes into, like, a slow-mo while you're in the menu. And you can then use R1 or R2 to cycle to the other crew members to issue commands. Or you can press the D-pad to switch characters. Mm-hmm. So I do more commands stuff than character switching. I mostly stay as Cloud, at least so far.
I will let you know that there's a couple bosses that you'll come up a bit that you'll learn that you have to switch over, just because you need to get their bars filled up faster. Yeah. So basically, if you're not controlling a character, they're just going to do regular attacks, and their AB bars going to fill up very slow. Mm-hmm. And there's some that you need to be able to chain things together. I'm 21 hours into this game. I'm still learning that I'm doing things wrong.
Oh wow!
that like the materia system is still as fantastic as it was, but there's so much more to it now, as far as like different types of materia that I'm now learning really work well together. So I'm like messing around with that a lot more. The battles are just so, especially bosses, like regular enemies and stuff are fun to kind of mess around with and try to experiment with. But those bosses are just well put together, that so many of them, especially here in the middle part of the game that I'm at, like so many of them have put me down to one character left and freaking out, trying to get enough to revive somebody. Like there's just that you're walking a tightrope a couple times where it doesn't feel unfair or way too tough, but it's just enough to make your heart race and completely freak out. Or when you die and you're like, oh, I did that wrong, or I switched that. The one thing I wish they would switch, but maybe it would make it too easy, is I wish items weren't one of the AB bar things.
Yeah, that's exactly, it'd be the Kingdom Hearts thing. You just spam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I absolutely get it, but there's a lot of times where it's like 2 people died, and I'm like, well,
got to attack a little bit before you can use an item. Yeah,
and I have to go attack, and I have like 300 HP. Well, let's hope I can get this all done at once. It's really good.
I have an important materia question for you, since you're the furthest along, Randy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The way that the materia slots looks on your weapons for you've got your materia slots on one side, and you've got your summoning slot on the other side.
Yes.
Can you still use does the second slot open up where you can use materia to modify your summons like you could in the original?
Not yet. Summons is a whole side thing. It's the one part of the battle I don't like, because you can't just summon a character. You have to be getting your ass kicked.
Fill up a bar, basically.
Yeah, that's Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, which is fine. I've gotten used to. The thing that I learned, and I don't know if it was just something that was messing up in my game, but I was asking a buddy who's actually beat this game already. He played it nonstop over the weekend. It took him about 40 hours. But I just got the regular edition, not the deluxe, but I got the pre-order baby chocobo.
Yeah, the choco chick. Whatever.
For whatever reason, if I had that as one of the possible summons, it always made me pick that one. So then I was trying to figure out, I was like, well, how do I get these other ones to show up? I'm tired of this one. I don't need this one to show up all the time. It's not doing what I need. I have these 2 that are very elemental that I want to use. But
right.
Well, don't you switch them out just like materia?
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. So like Cloud would have one, Tifa would have one, and Aerith would have one. But if I had the baby chocobo one equipped, whenever that summon bar filled up, the other 2 were faded out, and that was the only one I could pick.
Weird.
So I unequipped that one and put something else in, and then it allowed me to pick no matter what once they had that. So I don't know if something was just goofing up on my end or what.
I think they all have different ways that they appear, or certain battles where they only appear. Or...
it's all once I got rid of that one, I've been able to pick which one of the 3. So.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was just because I was still learning the system and I wasn't doing it right. Maybe I'll put it back in and mess around a little bit more. But summons is definitely one of those that it took me a little bit. At first, I was not a fan of the system, but as you kind of learn it more, it works really well.
I do like that it's a separate thing and not I have to take out one of my other materia that I really want to put in a summon materia.
My issue is they give you so many different kinds that you never have enough slots to try.
Oh no, you don't. Like I have
It's
that
so
problem
great.
right now. If you do, so there's this character named Chadley. If you use the assess material, which is like scan basically,
Yep.
and you learn all the abilities of your enemies, and you can figure out what they're weak to and all that stuff. And it stays that way for the game, so you don't have to keep using scan. You just use it one time on that enemy, and then anytime you face that enemy again, you can just press a touchpad to look up their weaknesses, which is really cool. And like you unlock the win materia if you do enough of the thing, his little missions that you get. And I'm like, whoa! But that Drake that you fight as one of the those side quests. Is weak against wind, but now I have to go remove this other material that I really like to put that in. So it's like there's not enough equipment.
Yeah, there's a lot of support ones that you get later on. That is like, I want to experiment with you, but okay.
And I learned the auto cure one is like very good. So I was like, I maxed that one out already, and I was like, okay, let's use this.
It's just so well put together.
So speaking of, do you guys remember when the chocobo breeding happens in the original Final Fantasy VII?
That's
Is that much later?
Yeah, that's when you get outside. Because you don't have
that's
access
golden
to it
saucer stuff. Like, because when you start being able to race them and everything like that. Yeah.
I was thinking about the way that they changed the summoning, where I'm like, man, I hope that when we eventually get to that I'll be able to do the fat chocobo. I'd hate to miss out on the fat chocobo.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. I've seen him already.
I was the Knights of the Round Summon.
I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that in this game.
If
and
it
how
is
that
in
would
this
work,
game,
because it's completely different. It would be really cool if it's just 10 knights show up and just start wrecking.
That'd be rad.
Another thing we need to bring up, because it's probably my favorite part of this game, is the music. Absolutely ridiculous how good this is. I was telling, I think it was Sean, I think it was you I was talking to the other day, where I just got to a part, I won't say where it was just regular overworld music, but they like all of a sudden, after a cutscene that has one of the Turks in it, took that same overworld theme, but like added in the Turk theme to it. Mm-hmm. It was amazing.
Like it's doing like a counterpoint kind of thing with the two themes against each other, or like
that's what it felt like. They just put them together, and it fit perfect, and it was just. I just set the controller down for a minute and listened. It was like it's just the way they have the dynamic music going on with the same theme goes into the battles and changes and stuff. It's
there's like 7 different versions of that battle theme, and it's like they're all awesome.
The one that you do with the Airbuster, like the moment that battle started, it's like that you got revved up. It was fantastic,
and I loved it. There's little discs that you can collect too. My
only complaint about that is they make a big thing about you collecting all the tracks, and they've got all these sweet remixes of the classic music that you can get, but then the actual in-game jukeboxes and record players are like scratchy, like 1950s like record player sound, and you still have the regular ambient music, and like you don't actually get to hear that music sounding good at all that you collect.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you get to play darts and you can hear it.
Yeah, that's fun. I like the darts game. Is it just me, or is his aim worse if you get the drink from Tifa beforehand?
That's the point.
Okay,
it's realistic. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I thought too. I was like, wait, are they doing this on purpose to where he's aiming badly because of this? Eventually I got it, and I just was hitting.
I still beat Wedge's high score, even with the shitty aim. So
the first time?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, no, not the first. It took a couple tries, but I mean, not on first try, but I mean the first time that you encounter the darts minigame. It's kind of like, let's get this trophy out of the way and then not worry about it anymore. Which I'm kind of, yeah. Well, did you guys get Rennie? Did you get and Sean? Did you guys get the motorcycle trophy?
No, I have to go back and do that one.
Man, that's hard.
So what's the motorcycle trophy?
You've got to finish the motorcycle sequence with 80% health.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't. I don't think. Well, I died the first time when you go through it initially, because I got to the part where he's able to climb up on the wall, or he goes up on the wall and starts using electricity, and then I almost got him, and then he zapped me one time good with the frickin' bicycle, or with the motorcycle, and he like jumps back down, and I was like, damn it. So then I had to get off my brake, and I had to leave it on. Thankfully, I figured out this game does not add time to your playtime when you have it on when you have it off the screen. So
that's actually hilarious. Even in cutscenes, like when you have the countdown and the opening sequence of the reactor, like in cutscenes, the timer does not progress. So yeah, it does not add playtime in a lot of ways.
And I mean, but that was a fun part too. I liked doing the thing with the motorcycle or whatever.
It was good. It's like something out of a Bayonetta, or trying to think of. I guess there are a lot of games that have those kind of sequences.
Devil May Cry, right? That does that as well.
Devil May Cry, RE6 has stuff like that, but not good, obviously.
And and you really do. Like, if you didn't get Jessie's personality before, you definitely get it through that.
So, she loves riding.
Yeah, in various ways. And I haven't even gotten to experience Aerith yet, and everything I see online is like she's the best.
Oh, you've experienced Aerith a little bit.
A little bit, but there's more when you go through her section. Yeah,
that's a really cute sequence. Did you know? I won't spoil it actually, but it's very, very funny if you don't take the flower from her. If you want to pay her for the flower, like if you try to give her money, it's really good. So try it out at some point.
Apparently, some stuff has been changed from the Japanese translation still, and I saw some people were upset about that.
Do you have an example of something people were upset about?
I was trying to understand it, but it was in text, so I was trying to see. I saw it on Twitter yesterday or whatever, but it was also like kind of late, so I wasn't really understanding. I'd have to see if I can find it again. But you know how people are, though. Like some people are just, you can never just take that into your own words if it's completely
right. If it's not literal,
right? Then people get upset. So, but that music, oh my god, it's gonna be really hard. I mean, I know we're talking about Persona 5 Royal as well, and that has amazing music too. But if Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't the best soundtrack of the year, we had some amazing music come out this year. So.
And that's a massive soundtrack. I mean, I think that 8 CD set that they're putting out at the end of this month is not complete. Like, it still does not have everything because there's just so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not even talking about the stuff that's later in the game as well. So,
right.
It's and then I mean, not even to talk about like how beautiful the game looks. Just how, I mean, yes, there's the texture pop in and stuff like that, but it's amazing to me still what we dreamed about those characters looking like if there was ever a remake. I mean, it's insane,
All the main characters look amazing. I will say my one disappointment with the look is I think the NPCs largely look bad in the way that, like, I mean, they're not quite like Yakuza NPCs.
Yeah.
Or, even... They're just kind of more. It's almost like a lot of them look like the same generic guy, and sometimes he's got a beard, or sometimes he's got a mustache, or different hair. But they're very similar. And the lip syncing, like there's the lady who gives you. I really noticed it on her. Like the lady who gives you the quest to clear out the drakes of the construction area. I was looking at her lip sync. It's just like, man, her mouth is crazy looking. Like it's like she's about to unhinge her jaw and swallow you whole like a python or something.
I saw that the lady that did the English voice acting for that, she was so excited, and there was people that were, of course, teasing her about the lip sync. She's like, I don't have any control over that. So.
Well, I just love that, she's arguing those two NPCs who are classic Final Fantasy VII NPCs, the two guards were the one who's like trying to learn how to be tougher.
Yeah.
Or his commanding officer is like chastising him for not being mean enough.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah, it's no, it's obviously. I mean, there wasn't gonna be everything look awesome. I mean, there was gonna be points where the NPCs were gonna look like that and everything. But it's I mean, if only Midgar looks like this, I want to know how it's gonna be when you get to the more open parts of the game. Is that where it's gonna show the wear a little bit? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's So what do you think of the side quest? Because that's what you mentioned, Yakuza. That's what I thought of when everybody's complaining about the side quest. It's like, this feels more like Yakuza. Like,
I mean, they also feel like Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 also had a find the cats quest early on. So it's not dissimilar. They're fine. They're the classic JRPG side quests. I don't know what people want. Some of them are kind of wacky. They don't feel like a waste of time. I like that you can grind. Like I realized that you could go back into the construction area and kind of kill those little pests over and over again.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So that's been useful. I really don't mind. I mean, it's what I expected as far as the side quests go. What do you all think?
I do like the fact that they kind of do build up your reputation, right? So they do kind of remember those things and it does kind of change. I mean, yes, it's a bunch of voices talking to you as you walk by. Yeah. But it does change the way that the people kind of react to you.
Oh, immediately. Immediately after you finish a quest, everybody in town is talking about it. Like, you walk past people and you're like, did you hear it? Did somebody get rid of the drakes? It was that mercenary.
It also changes something else, too.
Okay.
No spoilers.
Uh-huh.
That's good, though. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, the side quests, I'm in another group of them. At the moment, they're fine. They do start to get a little repetitive. The find the cats thing I'm now on my third different form of that.
Oh no! I was happy when that one was over. It's like when Cloud goes like, "This sucks." It's like you said it, Cloud.
It seems like every time they get to like, okay, here's some side quests you can do. Let's help the town folk. There's always one. It's like the find the cats one. So
fuck those cats.
Right. It's not always cats, but yeah, I mean, they're okay. They've added a bunch of goofy mini games that are just pointless fun. Wall Market has some interesting ones, which is not surprising.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that like surprised you, or you came in expecting one thing and now you're like, oh man, this made me think totally different about the game, or what? Especially you, Randy, that has played more than.
Yeah, honestly, to me, it still makes me just kind of wish that they were a little bit more upfront with this is just Midgar. Because we all knew it was just going to be Midgar because they've talked about it in news reports and stuff. But as far as like the marketing and stuff goes, I know it would be tough for them to not make it sound like it's just a spin-off game with that, but it would have been really cool to have it called Final Fantasy VII Remake Midgar or something, or just Episode 1, or however they needed to do it so people can't use that as the, oh my god, I'm going to wait for it to be the full game, because this is a full game. There is so much to this. I'm 20-some hours in. There's so much more for me to do, and it's not just trying to complete everything. It's like I can tell there's still a lot left in the story that I have to do. Again, my buddy finished it at about 40 hours, so there's a lot of game here.
Can you go back to like how open is the areas?
It's very linear. I've been told, I haven't got there yet, that there's some sort of a fast travel at some point to help you kind of complete those things. But I've also heard that once you beat the game...
It's not a fast travel. I don't know if they're going to fix this later, but it is you actually have to go and complete the entire chapter. If there's a side quest that you missed, you have to go back and complete the whole chapter.
No. There's two different things. When you beat the game, there's a chapter select where you can beat a whole chapter and collect things that you didn't. But there's also, from what my friend said, there's like a chocobo carriage thing that will take you to point to point. I believe. I have not unlocked that yet, but I had asked him before because I was like, some things that are locked that you can't reach. I'm like, do I really have to backtrack through all of this? Because it's very linear. It's very Final Fantasy 13. very straight corridors and everything. But I guess that you can go to key parts of different places and then search that place too. But yeah, once you beat the game, it unlocks the chapters, and then you have to beat the whole chapter for that all to work. But at least it allows you to pick and choose if you want to go collecting and stuff.
I wish you didn't have to do that. They could just drop you in, and you could go in and do your side quests.
Don't skip it the first time.
Well, some of us need to beat this a lot faster than we're going. So no, but it's good for your gaining gil and gaining because that's the thing we forgot to talk about with the battle system is something that's different that wasn't in the original was you can upgrade your weapons. So there's like a little bit of a spear grid system kind of with your weapons. So you gain SP once you level, and you can continue to build them up. And the actual cool thing that I really, really appreciated was each weapon has their own SP. So it's not, oh, well, if I stop using the Buster Sword, then that thing doesn't gain anymore. And then I have to keep grinding away with the Buster Sword, even though it's eventually it gets outdone by another weapon that you gain. You keep gaining levels, and you can keep putting SP in that. So it's cool.
I actually read a review, or I think I watched a review that said the Buster Sword's pretty useful throughout the entire game.
That's I was just about to ask about this, which is, obviously I just want to use the Buster Sword because it's the iconic weapon.
Right.
And I got, early on when you do that first quest for the blacksmith, he gives you a new sword that has more slots and like slightly lower damage but slightly higher magic, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just curious, like, especially you, Randy, who are much further along than me and Sean, like, is there a point? Like, what will I be screwing myself by like switching weapons? Is there a point of leveling multiple weapons? Why would I not just focus on?
Well, those abilities you get are important. Like that triple slash ability is amazing. You need to get that.
So as long as you use a new weapon long enough to unlock that ability where it'll go with any weapon, then that's fine. But like Sean was saying earlier, those leveling up different weapons, every time you level up and your weapons level up, all of them level up. So it allows you really to be able to pick and choose whether one sword might have more attack damage, one might have an extra materia slot, one might be better with magic and stuff. So you can customize it to how you play. But even if you want to change it halfway through, it doesn't penalize you because all of the levels are leveling up as you go. And you can also reset them with Chadley too if you want. So if you didn't, even though it seems it's at least from
the sphere grid of the weapon, or is it just by using it enough you automatically
it's the ability? It's one of the triangle ability, not triangle, but one of the just abilities of the weapon. So you hit X to bring up the menu, and you hit triangle. And it'll bring up the special moves or whatever. Triple slash is one of them that is, I want to say it's the second or third sword you get.
The Iron Blade sword. The one you get from the weapon smith. Yeah, him.
Okay.
It's really good with groups of enemies. It's especially when they're all cluttered together. It's great to swing that sword 3 times and make contact with all of them each time. It's great.
And Tifa has one later that also... it's pretty awesome too that you get from.
Yeah, so as long as you if you just want to use the Buster Sword, that's great. But as long as when you get a new weapon, you use it long enough to unlock the ability that sword has or that weapon has, and then you can go back to whichever one you like.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So,
thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be done with this so I can keep playing. So that's the thing too, is like even the little bit of I know Randy's experienced more of the story, but like anytime that they go, okay, let's do more of this story, I'm like completely engrossed. I want more, so that's something that I'll give them. The more that they've added has definitely made this game so much better than, that first 5 hours was, Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention, Randy, or we can just leave it to...
No, I'll just say this last thing. I said last year that Resident Evil 2 was the perfect way to remake a game. I was wrong. This is the perfect way to remake a section of a game, but do it. It's such an amazing job of You still have that nostalgia factor if you love the games back then, but it's not throwing it over the head of people that didn't play it. And again, if you did play it, you're going to be surprised by a lot of things anyways. So it's so fantastic and amazing what they've been able to do with this, where it's still so loyal to the original material, but they've made it its own thing. It's great.
Yeah, and you feel it right away too, which is what's nice. It's not like, oh, I had to wait 10 hours to get to the stuff I haven't seen before. No, it's almost, once you get out of that first Mako reactor thing, it's immediate. And it's like, oh wow, okay. I didn't get to experience this before. Great, And they just keep expanding on that.
And as a fan of Xavier Woods and Up Up Down Down, Barrett saying keep it tight made me run over to watch his stream to see his reaction to it, and it was worth it.
Is there a scene of Barrett humping the air like Big E does?
No spoilers.
Damn
it. All right. Well, now that we've talked about that a lot, Marc and Jens, you guys have been playing some more of games you were playing before. Marc, you're almost at the end of Persona 5, like the original part.
Yeah, I'm in the Shido ship. It was funny, I was playing it like at the start of the podcast and I actually died, so I was like, all right, I'm done for this for a while.
Anything else new that you've experienced since the last time we did that you really stood out to you, or has it all just been stuff you experienced before?
I mean, 80 so far that game is still 90 to 95% the same as Persona 5. It's just the new characters in the new area. I talked about that last week. So once I beat this ship or this palace, then that'll be the whole new section. So that's why that's why I've been really blown to this part, or most of the game, because I want to see the new stuff.
And Jens, you've been playing more of that Nioh 2.
Yep, I would say I'm not quite halfway through. I'm almost halfway through. I'm on a guy called Megaro Naotaka. He's an ice giant, and he's been pretty hard. That's kind of when I went on. I could have been much further in Final Fantasy actually, except that after you asked me so are you going to review Nioh 2 for me? It's like, I don't know. It usually takes me a long time to play Nioh 2. I was in the mood to play a little more Nioh 2 on Sunday, and I just kind of got on a roll, and I made a lot of progress. So yeah, I'm at about the 50, just under the halfway point through the main story. I've killed a whole bunch of bosses. I killed the giant flying owl with three eyes. There's just not that much to talk about with Nioh 2 systemically, because it's just it's, as we've talked about before, it's more Nioh. I have unlocked some new systems. There's now a secondary guardian that you can equip. So you've got your main guardian, who is your summon basically when you go into beast mode or demon mode, whatever they call it. But there's now also you can equip another one, and it'll give you stat bonuses. And I've started doing soul fusion stuff, so that's still very confusing to me, because it seems like you're not really getting. You can only fuse souls of the same kind. Each demon type drops a different kind of soul, and they each have a level, but fusing them doesn't seem to increase the level. So it's you've got a level 26 soul and a level 27 soul. You put them together, you get a level 27 soul. So I need to figure out what the hell I'm doing wrong with that, because it's very confusing. And I've done some more blacksmithing, which seems to be different from classic Nioh. I haven't really figured. Classic Nioh, it was you could kind of you could combine weapon types of the same kind or the same level, and they'd become a +1, +2, +3, up until +10, I think. And here it's more, okay, I'm going to pump these individual crafting materials into individual stats. So weapons have different attributes that you can level up. Now I don't know if that may have been. I'm sure there may be a listener screaming at the podcast right now about that wasn't Nioh 1, you dumbass. I just don't remember.
That sounds like Dark Souls.
It is Dark Soulsy for sure. I don't remember if that was in Nioh 1, but it seems like the level upgrading is slightly different than it was. But it's been too long. So yeah, I'm just continuing to go through it, and the game is still a complete bastard. So Who knows when I'll finish it? I'll finish it eventually.
Randy, have you played anything besides FF7?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
That's all I played.
I've tried
Oops. Did I lose everyone?
Xbox that has a game on it that no one's heard of before, and I can find nothing about.
And it doesn't run?
Like the menu runs, but the second I try to get into a match, it looks like some like Team Fortress style game, some type of like first person shooter, I assume. But the second you try to load into a match, like the game just like crashes.
Wow.
So
what I'm excited for now you've got the dev kit Xbox is for your full and thorough review of StarCraft Ghost.
Yeah, that's the big reason I bought this thing. I want to play that game.
Yep. I need to hear all about that. In fact, I think you should Twitch stream that.
I don't have the right HDMI adapter.
Well, we'll see how much that costs. I feel like that's something. If you're ever going to stream something, that's the one. I'd watch it.
Yeah, because StarCraft Ghost that ran off an Xbox, so that should run real well on this thing. Now it's just a matter of finding it.
Oh, I figured you'd sorted all that out before you bought this dev kit.
No. I mean, I can find. I don't think it'd be that hard to find, believe me. But
all right. Well,
okay, you talked about that last time.
Yeah, it's cool.
Sorry, just looking at the list here.
Yeah. I'm still doing that occasionally.
Did you play any more Animal Crossing, or are you done with it completely?
I may play it occasionally, but yeah, I'm done with it. Like I didn't like that Easter egg thing at all.
Well, but that's over now.
Oh, yeah,
our long national nightmare has finally come to an end.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't like that, and I may screw around with that amiibo stuff just to get a few more characters on my island. That's about it.
Yeah, you've got the amiibo spoofer.
Yeah, which is handy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's gonna be it for the show this time. We definitely at least got to talk quite a bit about initial impressions of Final Fantasy, and that's, for the time being, probably going to be the biggest game coming out for a while. So, yeah. We'll have to see what awaits us in this next week of news and go from there. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Randy, for being on, of course, and Ienzo, as always, as well.
Oh, sure.
And, if you like what you heard, you can hit subscribe and get us every time we do a show. Right now, we're doing 2 a week. I think I'm going to settle on doing them when I have the next day off, because a lot of times we finish these like late, and then by the time they get edited and everything else, I'm like going to bed at like 3 in the morning. And when I don't have, when I have work the next day, I'm like, it's always in the back of my mind, I can't oversleep, so it's much better to do it this way. So, yeah, Marc's Disaster Report 4 Summer Memories review is pretty much done. I only got to edit like a few paragraphs. Randy's Resident Evil 3 review is complete, so you can read that on the site as well, and what Randy thinks about it. And yeah, we'll see.
Any thoughts about Resident Evil 4? That's the new one they're gonna remake.
Oh, that's right.
It's too early.
I feel the same way. There's a million versions of it.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, the one thing I was worried about was that they're just going to be like Assassin's Creed and oversaturate. I do like the news or the rumors that it's been in development already 2 years by a side group, which makes me feel a little bit better. But we're getting to the point now that you're going to have a 5-year stretch of Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 8, and then Resident Evil 4, all with it. Like, that's the January that you will expect. And at some point, you're going to oversaturate a little bit. Like, Marc and I were talking about which one was going to be remade next. I didn't really care whether it was 4 or 0 or Code Veronica. I wanted one completely different where you combine 0 and 1 and just make it the Arklay Mountains section and just like completely revamp it and not just make it a remake, but just do that whole story as one big thing would be cool to me. But I didn't want it in 2 years. Like, get Resident Evil 8 out, because obviously they've been working on that, and then taking a year or two and really then come in. But no, it's Resident Evil all over.
Eight's such a different style of game. I don't necessarily see it competing directly. Like, there's a lot of people like me who are interested in. I would play Resident Evil 4 again, but I don't know if I'm going to be wanting to play Resident Evil 8.
I mean, if it's like 7.
Well, you know how Resident Evil 4 is when they went to the behind the scenes camera and like the whole kind of action oriented gameplay. How funny would it be if in the remake they went back to the tank controls and the pre-rendered camera angles and all that crap?
They won't though.
First person. They'll go first person with it.
I mean, I think 4 is still, it plays more modern enough. Like, that's kind of the issue. Like, I mean, it might look not great now, but it still kind of holds up. I mean...
If it played more like 5, that would be...
I mean, what's the difference?
Just the camera and the mobility.
Yeah.
That's why I was with Randy on, why not just go ahead and remake 0 and 1 and put them in one package, and that way you don't have any of the old games with tank controls anymore, and you can play them.
Code Veronica.
Yeah.
You still have controls. That's like the one thing, like the one thing that doesn't that holds up that game.
Yeah, and it's so that's what I would have figured is they would have at least tried to finish all, because Code Veronica has a tie-in to like 2, right? Or
because you play as Claire,
right? So they would have tried to figure out that arc and then move on. But I guess everybody wanted 4 so bad because it's in the memories as being the best Resident Evil that everybody wanted it remade, I guess.
It'll be the money maker. It's going to make more.
Hopefully they release another chainsaw controller.
Right.
That's why I would have waited on that one, because you can release that one any moment and make money. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
And it will get the upgrade with the PS5 and Xbox Series X and stuff. But so it'll be even better than what we're getting with the remakes. But I mean, I agreed with Mark.
Following that Resident Evil 1 remake kind of framework, like Code Veronica. It's pretty assy ugly because it was on the old Dreamcast, and that Dreamcast controller only had one analog stick. So, yeesh.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Skype has been terrible for parts of this. So, you guys kept talking and it lost me. So, I got into the middle of the conversation. So,
I couldn't hear you. Yeah, I could.
No, you guys could all hear it. Apparently, I got cut off every time. So
you can just re-record your part.
No, I meant because I'm the one recording, so it's probably going to have times where it cuts out. So this is going to be fun for everybody else listening.
Well, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, but let's see how this goes. Let's see how, if we, that when we were talking about the music, is let's see if things can ever get back to normal, we can go into a enclosed space and not feel like we're harming ourselves. If because I'm really thinking about, after actually playing the game now, if I want to join you guys in Atlanta to go to that concert.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be I'm just hoping that concert doesn't get canceled. I mean, I've got the tickets.
That's what I'm worried about, is getting myself hyped to go, because I'm sure you can still buy a ticket, and then it gets canceled because, we still are not in a safe zone to be able to fill people in an enclosed setting like that and not be putting everybody at risk for COVID-19. So thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back on Saturday. That'd be Saturday night, so Sunday morning. And until then, thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you later.
Later.